what's going on YouTube? This is Acid Root. So I want to review an EP by Yianax, an Australian rapper who was kind of on the rise back in the day as far as this fair is going to happen. Basically, this product is called Split, and it came out in the fall of 2019. So this is a particular EP here as far as this pitch can happen. Don't know if I said that a little bit earlier within the pitch, but basically Yianax is an affiliate of Tuzin, who's a rapper I've been paying attention to within recent times as far as this fair is going to happen. Jackal Goldkick had introduced me to him in the past. I've taken interest within some of those type fairs with folks like him, folks that particularly had to do with some of that type fair. I reviewed like a folk named Mateo, wanted to get to some of this. Now apparently there was another, there's a good cache of Australian rappers. There was one called DB or something like that that might have possibly passed away, but I found like a cache of these Australian rappers. Might start getting to some of these type folks, but some of those ones in particular, like Tuzin and Yianax, deleted a lot of their particular music as far as those fairs can happen. At least Yianax has like one or two products left. I realized that he had a mixtape back in the day that had some Tuzin productions on there, so I would definitely say post that up if you can find it just within the particular pitch behind it. I would definitely say I realized within the fashion that it just seems a lot more low-key, as if any of this music would still be kind of around, but I get the feeling it was pretty vicious within the tone, just judged by the quality of this product. Some good type stuff here. It's interesting kind of get some of that Australian rap to see what they were capable of within some of those type pitches. So some excellence here to be able to get this. The Split EP is going to get a classic score within the pitch behind it. Just recommend 7.5 out of 8 songs on here. So really there's just one almost song out of the 8 songs on here, so it's just from the pitch. Yeah, so yeah, 10 out of 10. Excellence just being able to say. Now, to my knowledge, there's not a super common ton of people who've really talked about Yianax as far as those fairs have kind of happened. I don't know the full bound extent of the popularity he got, but on his SoundCloud page, he has at least 130 followers. So it's just within the pitch. He might have like 1,000, 800,000, 1,500, 2,000, something like that within subscribers on YouTube as far as those fairs can happen, but he doesn't super commonly update compared to how much he was probably back in like the mid-late 2010s and early 2020s. Is a lot of that particular fair, like it felt like a lot more folks were more within the rap game on like the come-up type rise within the SoundCloud and Dat Piff type movements back in like the mid-2010s, early 2010s, some of those type fairs compared to nowadays. I feel like it's not as burgeoning as it was in the past, which is really disappointing because a lot of this is pretty vicious. This is a good concept here, and this just came out at a relatively good timing. This was back when, this is right before COVID happened within some of those type pitches where things were kind of still within a relative type sense like late 2010s trap. But the thing about 2010s trap and 2020s trap is it's just really starting to amalgamate into things. I really can't determine who's like the ringleader of some of this. I mean, Future has been putting out projects. I mean, he's been carrying like the flag and the torch as far as trap music, but apart from him, a lot of these folks like Lil Baby has not done as terrifically as like probably what was expected to be seen of his 2025 album. Gunna hasn't been doing too terrifically, so folks like that, Migos is broken up, and just with the aspect of what happened with Takeoff, the unfortunate things with that, so there's just some fairs that have kind of been within some of those type of things. DaBaby has been kind of floundering, so it's just kind of the concept as far as saying there hasn't been like a super ton of predominant trap music, but the concept back in like October, November 2019 when this particular product came out was a little bit more predominant. There just were some fielded type stuff, and this is a good aspect of getting like a second wind of some of this type fair of like further 2010s trap type music, even way out in Australia as far as this pitch can happen. So it's just a concept. This does not have any Tuzin affiliation, unfortunately, but it's still pretty excellent within the pitch. I just would say within the concept, this is very vicious. Just a concept of just seeing some hungry kind of mixtape rappers on the rise as far as those aspects going to happen. Just the aspect of what they're able to do with it, and this kind of eviscerates things pretty quickly just within the tone. This has the concept of just having a real trendy type sense of how this particularly works. I mean, I realize that it's not really guests on this particular product. It's just pretty much like a one and done. It's not really any guests on this product. It's just particularly just like an impact of something of what you would get from like an NF album or like some folks like that, just in that particular type fair, just something within that relative typeness, an NF or a dentist type product, something of that. It's not like there's a problem with that particular pitch, but it's just kind of the concept that this is pretty, I mean, this has like a season type aspect, just the bite that it particularly had with it. Just some good concepts there, just being able to get it. Now, I didn't pay it super commonly. I regret not fucking with like at least his Yianax's 2017 mixtape that apparently came out before this one. I don't know how many full bound products that Yianax put out. He may have put out more than 2 or 3. I have no clue. There's really only one other one that's still around nowadays apart from like this particular Split EP. So it's just the concept. He might have had 4 or 5, even more than that product, just from the tone. I mean, if you have those details, I would definitely divulge them. Let's get some of this music back up and get it out just within the distribution of it, because it's definitely worth it. We need more YouTube channels like JGK Records channel that definitely has these particular type musics on there. Just had to say within the pitch, but it's just kind of the concept as far as saying, no, Yianax is really not to be found anywhere else. He kind of slipped between the cracks and it's just not as commonly available whatsoever. But I would definitely say, folks, get that shit belted out if you definitely can within the pitch. But yeah, just to say, recommend all 8 songs on here within some degree of fashion. The only song that's an almost song for me is Lifestyle, as far as this pitch can happen. Just to talk about that one, this is like a distorted and kind of off-kilter kind of neighborhood comedy to kind of get here. Just a torch kind of snack run, good song to smoke and gab to, as far as this pitch can happen. Minorly social within the pitch, not like full-bound designated to homies type fare just within the pitch, but just kind of a concept just having some smokage in your system is kind of a concept of just gas station runs, getting some checks mixed, some of those type fares, just snacks, just some of that type pitch, a disc, kind of the concept of just having like a high as hell type format, just being out and about within a relative localized type sense within the pitch. So it's a good type concept for that. It's kind of the pitch. Now it's an almost song just because the concept of me just not smoking as much nowadays, just because of more health, more so I would definitely smoke within the ability, but it's just the concept, it's just not within the frequency of it, unfortunately. But this is the concept. It's some good type fare, just be able to get towards those aspects of being able to do that just in the pitch of having some good type jive. But I don't know if full bound Yianax particularly smokes as in particular. I realize in Australia things might be different, but it's just within the pitch as far as saying it's some good type songs. So it's just a good type song to kind of get. It is a further quality type one. I do recommend the song within most of the type fashions, but this is a really enhanced type song to have like some smokage in your system, just red eyes type music. But just the offness it just does, it's just kind of a little bit more garble, just a little bit more off-key type production when you're more sober within the pitch behind it, but still has relative like heroiness and this viciousness about it. So it's good type tone. So yeah, this EP gets a 10 out of 10. But yeah, just talk about the concept. I guess there are guests on here. There's like a Jono is Fat and Boy Melody. There's some folks on here I need. Oh yeah, there's a cat named Rhythm, which I think did the hook on one day. So yeah, there are some good hooks on here just within some of those type of aspects. The 2 most commercial songs within the aspect are going for like some pop rap kind of radio grabs, just the Australian kind of version or more underground type version of something that NF was kind of doing in the 2010s. 2 songs for those aspects would be One Day and Things That You Hate. Both of these have some pretty, and these are pretty solid enough kind of commercial grabs within the pitch. These actually work for like a good expansion, like the stuff that Eminem and NF are kind of doing throughout the 2010s. So it's just some good type pitches for that. Particularly One Day is like a heroin kind of evening dredge kind of get here. Just a typical day kind of frustration. I had to say about this one, just kind of, it's like some typical day kind of frustration goings within the pitch behind it. I had to suppose just some makeshift rumination kind of get here. So it's just the product, this vehicle centric type stuff, just that 4 o'clock p.m. type slag within like the heat wave nest, just the concept of like a hot August, something like that, or maybe a hot February if you live on the southern hemisphere, some of those type pitches just within the tone, just the aspect behind it as far as that particular happens with that, just kind of frustrating type day, just from the aspect, just that typical kind of just slag of it all, just from the aspects, some good type tones. There is another one that's just like that. Both One Day and Things That You Hate have some pretty good hooks within those aspects, just having that commercial breakthrough. So some good type tones, despite the fact that this is more SoundCloud type within the pitch and just a lot more low key. I mean, I want to say I looked these songs up on my phone in the past, and it seemed like they only had like 200, 300 type hits after 5.5 years within the pitch behind it. So these are relatively type popular within the pitch. Now, I mean, they're obviously not as popular as like Juice WRLD and like Trippie Redd and some of those type folks that are on SoundCloud, but still within the pitch that, well, actually it's a lot more like really kind of lukewarm within the pitch, but I just look at it, it's still the concept that this is viciously good considering that these songs after 5.5 years only have 300 or 700 plays. So some good type pitches, but just the aspects, there are some commercial ones on here, just like some of these mixtape rappers I reviewed that are more low key with some good stuff. So Things That You Hate's another nice one. It's like a Malaise kind of late day drifting kind of get here, just some grand kind of songs, like some grand kind of autumn outings, I'd have to say definitely good for like an errand run kind of hop within some of those type pitches. So just the concept, just that makeshift kind of gleam about it, just picking up groceries, some of that type fare, getting like a box of beer, some of those type pitches, just like that extra kind of slag of just smoke in, probably like a swisher in the whip, something like that within a responsible type sense within the pitch, not to drive around, but just the pitch of having some of that type fare, just extra musings, getting some Burger King, some of those type pitches just in the tone, and just the aspect of this typical type slag for like, I mean, this is a pretty inviting type album to like the relief of things. It definitely realizes like the aspect of just like a bitchy type day, or just some of that type slag, and just like the aspect, it's a good type concept to just pop this in your tape deck, something like this have the relief of just being like, alright, just not having to flip a bird every other minute, but just within the pitch of saying, alright, this is like some good type context to get you back in a good mood, that just understands like the concept, that's not as full back, like it has like the aspect of the malaise about it, but it just does it in like a more motivating type field as far as that particular kind of goes. This, like it says on his description on this EP on SoundCloud, says this shit is to wake people up. So it's kind of within the pitch that this kind of has the aspect of, it says aspect of kind of revving things just within the concept of just getting kind of some It's kind of like some moody and kind of emo rumination as far as this pitch kind of happen. Just kind of concept of just getting, kind of being like a spark and an ignite as far as this pitch kind of happen. So it's a good type tone for some of those pop grabs as far as this pitch going to happen. There is a very vicious trap centric type one in Dog Eat Dog. It's one of the best songs on this EP in terms of like the most immediate factor, in terms of like a turn up sense. It's like a super gnarly kind of late 2010s trap turn up. Kind of get here just a grand relief from like the usual BS that I'd say. Great song to get crunk to. It's a pretty good concept. Goes along well with lifestyle. I'd say just a little bit more in your face, a little bit more party centric. I suppose not a super ton of these on here, but it's a good type pitch. Kind of get this ferociousness, just an aspect, real vicious type one. This feels like something that like Ouija Mac or Lil Baby would have done. Some of those type folks, Migos back in the late 2010s, some of those type fairs. Good aspect. There's some haunting ones on here, like Frankenstein's a pretty good example of that, considering that this came out right around Halloween in 2019. It's like a brooding kind of horrorcore trap snarl kind of get here, just a thrilling and shrill kind of October Crusades. I'd have to say about this one, at least in the northern hemisphere, and it's a pretty lit type song gonna get. So just the haunting typeness, good aspect of getting some of that type fare is something that probably folks like Esham or like ICP or like folks like that Twisted would have done, just with a little bit more trap centric typeness. Someone like Ouija Max, some of those more gothic type folks within the pitch, but it's a good aspect kind of get this here, especially considering the concept just within the pitch, just like that gothic type tone within the pitch. So some good type tones. There's some further ones on here, like Patience is a nice one. It's like a glowy kind of usual evening push kind of get here, just a heroin and kind of menacing feel about this one, just extra rumination kind of makeshift within some of those type pitches about it. So this one kind of is in between like the halfway. There's some moments on here that do feel like a trap thump about it, something like Frankenstein just within the pitch, but this also within like the aspect like a little bit makeshift in mind, just the commerce of getting towards it, just kind of a relief of like a song like Things That You Hate, but just not quite as drudgy, just within the aspect of having like some good recreational type value just within the pitch of like picking up some, Swishers or, beer or something like that within the tone, but then also just having the aspect of like just wrapping up the last moment task, just some of that extra type thoughts that just have some good type times to just getting straightened. Deathbed is a quality one. It's a good type concept. This feels like something off of like a fantasy video game, something like that, some sort of PlayStation role-playing game, something within that particular type fare. It's like a misty and kind of foresty autumn push to kind of get here. Just a gusty day, kind of extra motions kind of have for some of this. It's kind of being out and about in like a vehicle, something like that, with just not super tons in mind. Maybe just once again picking up like a box of beer, just something extra kind of have for not necessarily getting from point A to point B or going straight to a dance club venue or hitting up a bell or something like that, but just kind of motions to just something for extra kind of saunter within the pitch, and like some night type fare, or just relative kind of 5:30, 6:30 p.m. type fare within the pitch. Just like some nice vehicle knocks about this one. So just good overall amalgamation about this song, good overall vibes and feelings about it. Just extra type conduct for some of that type fare. It's good type moments. Not every single rapper pulls out the vibe with like extra type moments for some of that type pitch. Just having the conduct to this time that's just not designated towards one particular type thing was a good type pitch for that, and does it in a haunting sense. Like a relatively brushy and foresty type sense within the pitch behind it, so it's a good type tone for that. And then Existence is a nice one. This is another one that's pretty similar to like Patience. I'd have to say just a little bit more within the darkness of it. It's like a driven kind of dark outing motions kind of get here. Just good song to ponder to. Relative relief from like day life to switch to nights as far as those pitch kind of happen. So if you have like the day type fare, it's kind of like a mild type version, just kind of a little bit more. It's like a mild but firm kind of flip mode from day life to night life as far as those pitch kind of happen. Going from like 3 o'clock p.m. just being amidst the work shift to like 7:30 p.m. just like in night mode as far as this pitch can happen with just getting some turn up going, calling up the homies or some bells, pitches like that as far as those fairs can happen just within the pitch. This is good type concept, but it does it kind of in NF songs like Existence and Patience kind of do it within an NF type sense of just a little bit more just kind of thought provoking in mind within the pitch behind this kind of the concept of just like the pitch of just like not, I mean, it's not so much, this is more of like it's this particular project has some degree of social step out about it. Songs like Frankenstein and Dog Eat Dog, some of those type pitches, but it has a lot of NF similarities within the pitch of just more kind of solo for dolo type rumination just within the pitch of kind of questioning what your next move is going to be and figuring out how to get mapped out within the pitch and build off the concept as far and get to like a higher grind as far as this pitch kind of happens. So it's just kind of within the product. It's a little bit of, it's a motivated type product within the pitch, but it does within the aspect of not being a square bus. It's just within the pitch where it's just it probably has these moments to get tore up a bit within relative type senses, but so does the conduct to having like some relative kind of aspect of having some swing towards it as far as just having the grind of just being realizing that you do have some moves to make as far as this pitch can happen. So it's just within the tone as far as doing that. But yeah, I think I talked about every song in here as far as this pitch can happen. So this album or this EP gets a 10 out of 10. Excellent conduct within it. Simple enough to see. The Social Score I'll probably give I'll probably give the social score like a 9.25 out of 10 because this is pretty low key after 5.5 years. Like I said, that most of these songs only have 3 digits worth of plays. This is 5 years, half a decade in within the pitch. This is low key within the pitch behind it. I mean, he does have the twos in affiliation and folks like that. There's some folks that he particularly at least made some relative kind of buzz noise. He got the 4 digits worth of subscribers on YouTube, some of that type fare. But just between like the product of his products not being around as much full bound as the question mark of his discography not really not being known, the product of his discography not being really as full-blown known. It's kind of unfortunate that you don't get to see many products that he did up to that particular point, apart from this one and one other one, which really the one from 2021, which really the project from 2021 just felt like leftovers from like projects that he made throughout the 2010s as far as this pitch can happen. So this is within the pitch, still some excellent type stuff. Just judging from like the ability that he had on this particular product is probably further classics that he had. So definitely make it known if you have some of these type ones, get them more available again because they're definitely worth it. And he has got some pretty gem type stuff and overall classic type appeals just within the pitch behind. So I'd say within that, but 9.25 just because it didn't seem like there was a single just in the pitch, a little bit more low key within the pitch. I mean, this has a relative availability, but this guy just seems to be expressed more within the pitch because it's definitely kind of like it's like a certain degree of a sin that this more products like this are not distributed more within the quality of it. So it's just within the fair, but some excellence. So in terms of the future, like once again, you know, Yianax unfortunately seems more like a product of like the mid-late 2010s, about the early 2020s. I mean, he has been putting out songs, but it's just not as super common. It doesn't seem to have like the same fury from like 2019, 2017, 2016, some of those type fairs, which is very unfortunate within the pitch. But hopefully we can get some of those sparks back just to be able to get towards it. So I would definitely get the distribution going to get more of these products out there. If you do have some of these Yianax products, let the world know because it's definitely worth getting these back in the spotlight because these are pretty excellent here.